Among the many genres that indie games have expanded to, metroidvanias are among my favorites. Indie games have truly expanded this genre, giving us unique takes and evolutions of what this type of game can offer. Today, I'm going to talk to you about an indie metroidvania that doesn't revolutionize the genre, but instead offers players a solid retro metroidvania experience that is challenging and rewarding. Hi everyone, my name is Jeremy and this is my non-spoiler review for Beholdguard, developed by Serkan Bakar for PC. The story of Beholdguard is as follows. An evil sorcerer has brought an evil god or demon to Earth. You return to your land to find it infested with monsters and darkness, and now it is up to you to save Earth from the evil, and you are Beholgar the barbarian. The story of this game plays out in many ways. First of all, there is an opening hand-drawn cutscene that presents to you the basic premise of the game. Throughout the game, you will meet different type of characters with whom you will talk, and you will find out more as to what's happening with the plot. And hidden in different corners of the world, you will find documents that will contain story bits which expand more on the lore and the story of the game. Beholgar is described as a classically styled 2D action-adventure. It features some good-looking retro aesthetics that make the game a pleasure to look at. From the characters to the enemies to the levels, everything looks really good and beautifully designed. The game looks almost as an 8-bit game from the Nintendo era. In terms of its performance, the game ran stable. However, for some reason I could not record the game on full screen, and I kept getting a flickering effect on the image that was kind of annoying at times. Either way, I think that is an issue that will probably be addressed in a patch, and that really doesn't take away from the experience. The game has some low spec requirements, so it can be played in most computers. My computer had the following specs and it had no trouble running the game. The game features some awesome music that really gives it a retro feel, and it creates some nice atmosphere that matches the setting your character is in, a world of witches, warriors, barbarians, monsters, and magic. The music really stands out as you play through the different areas, helping you stay connected with the action inside the game, and it gives each area a completely different feel. In terms of gameplay, Beholgar is a 2D metroidvania action platformer game. That means that you will explore an interconnected world with distinct sections in a diverse group of enemies and bosses. Your main character has a small amount of health, a main weapon, and a projectile weapon. Projectiles have a limited amount and run out. You can find more ammo in different types of projectiles, but you can only have one type of projectile at a time, and it gets automatically changed once you pick up a new type. You can attack with your main weapon, throw projectiles, jump, crouch, and roll. As you progress through the game, you get new abilities that will help you open new paths to continue forward. You can acquire a total of 5 different weapons that will give you more options as to how to face the different battles the game throws at you. There are shops where you can buy accessories and items with the money you get. You get money by killing enemies and in jars and treasure chests. However, each time you die, you lose money. One thing that you need to know about this game is that it's very challenging since the very beginning. You will die constantly, mastering the sections of the level that you are going through. At times, it may feel unfair because of how little damage you can take and how limited your moveset is, particularly during the beginning of the game. However, the game is actually pretty fair, and as you acquire more abilities and your mobility expands, the battles and the gameplay become much more manageable. The game balances the difficulty by putting a lot of save points in key places, like for example before hard sections or a boss, so that when you die, you can start back at that save point. If you got a key item and you die, the item stays with you, which favors the player. The game features a few boss fights which are challenging and entertaining, and a good change of pace from the level traversing and exploration. Among the bosses, you will face warriors and monsters alike. In regard to the level design, I would have to say that it is really good. Areas are diverse and beautifully designed, and look good with enough detail for them to look interesting. Each area features different enemies, meaning that you won't get bored fighting the same type of enemies everywhere. The enemy variety is quite impressive. You have small and big enemies. You will see skeletons, specters, dragons, serpents, zombies, werewolves, humans, among many others. The platforming in the game is superb. The areas are filled with instant kill spikes, pits, and traps. The jumping feels good, and it gets better as you acquire more abilities. However, I do have to say that the character's movement does feel stiff at times, but doesn't really take away from the experience. It feels proper for the retro feel. There are secrets and optional things hidden through the areas, but sadly you don't have a map to keep tabs of the things that you have missed. Meaning that if you got a new ability and remember seeing that type of wall that you can now break somewhere else, you will have to rely on your memory or go back and explore the area again. You can fast travel from the save points, but sadly they only take you to the beginning of the area. You can't choose specific save points from within the stage. Beholdguard is a short game, clocking around 5 hours to complete the main game. If you try to get all secrets, you will probably get around 6 to 7 hours depending on how well you play the game. So let's talk about the cons and the pros of the game. Let's start with the cons. The first thing that I think took away from my experience with the game was what I call a balancing issue. The game is clear from the beginning that this will be a challenging and unforgiving experience. However, there are certain elements that seem a little bit excessive and require balance. I'm gonna give you a few examples so you can understand what I'm saying. First of all, the poison. Sometimes when your character gets poisoned, he loses around 3/4 of his health, and if you already took any amount of damage, the poison will surely kill you. You can buy antidotes, but most of the time you won't necessarily have them with you. So once you get poisoned, it's almost guaranteed that you will die. Other times, the poison didn't do as much damage. Either way, it was problematic and it felt unbalanced because of how much damage it does and how little health you have. Secondly, you get money to buy accessories that can enhance your abilities or to buy items. But you lose money when you die. In a game where you will die constantly, this gameplay design doesn't have much synergy. I ended up playing through almost the entire game without buying a single item. Because when I started to accumulate a lot of money, I reached an area where I would die a lot and lose it all. And buying the accessories costs a lot too. Third, like I've said before, you start with very little HP. Enemies do a lot of damage. I don't know if there are others, but the only life upgrade I found was near the end of the game. Fourth, in some instances, enemy placement feels unfair. Enemy projectiles in some areas are basically impossible to dodge, and I ended up taking damage unfairly. And fifth, when you take damage, your invincibility frames are almost non-existent, meaning that enemies can hit you multiple times in a row. So basically those are some examples of what I feel is a lack of balance in some areas of the game that hopefully are addressed later on with patches. So the second con of this game to me is the lack of a map. The game has no map for inside the areas that you visit. So if you want to go back to find secrets, you must do it on your own, rely on your memory, or replay certain sections to find the secret areas. A map would have facilitated this aspect of the exploration for the player, making it more enjoyable. So what are the strengths of this game? First of all, the visuals. The 2D classic look and the beautiful characters, setting, and enemies really capture the retro look and is one of the standing out points of the game. Secondly, the music. The music really stands out and helps the player to be immersed in the world of Beholdguard, transmitting the savage, magical, and mysterious world of the game. And last but not least, the gameplay. The gameplay is simple and it's challenging, and because the challenge is fair for most of the game, It makes it so that when you start getting the hang of the gameplay mechanics and start getting new abilities, the game feels awesome and rewarding. So in conclusion, Beholdguard is a solid entry to the plethora of indie metroidvania games that are out there. Balancing issues regarding difficulty and the lack of a map for the interior of the stages takes away from the gameplay experience. However, with its classic 2D look, its dark fantasy setting, and its retro music, challenging platforming and battles makes it a good metroidvania to sink your time into. The game manages to offer a short, complete, challenging, and rewarding experience that any metroidvania lover should check out. For this reason, I recommend Beholdguard. So that is it for this non-spoiler review. The link to the Steam page of the game will be in the description. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Hi everyone, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with our content.